I call on government orders of the day, numbers 1 and 2.
Criminal Records, Expungement of Convictions for Historical Homosexual Offences Bill, first reading, and Government Notice of Motion number 1, regarding an apology to homosexual New Zealanders convicted for consensual adult activity.
The Honourable Amy Adams.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Criminal Records Expungement of Convictions for Historical Homosexual Offences Bill be now read a first time. I nominate the Justice and Electoral Committee to consider the bill. I also move Government Notice of Motion number 1, that this House apologise to those homosexual New Zealanders who were convicted for consensual adult activity and recognise the tremendous hurt and suffering those men and their families have gone through and the continued effects the convictions have had on them. Mr Speaker, today we're putting on the record that this House deeply regrets the hurt and stigma suffered by the many hundreds of New Zealand men who were turned into criminals by a law that was profoundly wrong, and for that we are sorry. We're acknowledging that these men should never have been burdened with criminal convictions, and we're recognising the continued effects that the convictions have had on their lives and the lives of their families. New Zealand has a proud reputation for fairness, freedom and diversity. It's unimaginable today that we would criminalise consensual sexual activity between adults. Almost 4 years ago, this Parliament passed the Marriage Definition of Marriage Amendment Act 2013 to allow same-sex couples to legally marry, and I was proud to vote in favour of it. Today is another historic day for the New Zealand gay community and their families, as Parliament formally apologises for the hurt caused by the convictions and takes the first reading of a bill to expunge those convictions. Mr Speaker, it is never too late to apologise. While we cannot ever erase the injustice, this apology is a symbolic but an important act that we hope will help address the harm and right this historic wrong. The Homosexual Law Reform Act of 1986 decriminalised sexual conduct between consenting males aged 16 and older. The right to be free from discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation was later recognised in the Human Rights Act of 1993. However, convictions for those offences remain on record. This means that they can appear in criminal history checks, and those New Zealanders continue to be tainted with the stigma that such convictions carry. This bill seeks to address the ongoing stigma, prejudice and other negative effects arising from a conviction for a historical homosexual offence by creating a statutory scheme for a convicted person or a representative on their behalf, if that person is deceased, to apply for the conviction to be expunged. Mr Speaker, let me once again acknowledge the enormous pain that the New Zealanders affected by these convictions have lived with. It is my hope that this bill and Parliament's apology will go some way towards addressing that. As well as acting to once and for all remove the taint and the label of criminality, we want by these actions to formally acknowledge and put on record both the hurt and the damage caused and the fact that those convictions should not have occurred. Mr Speaker, I proudly commend the bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
The question is that the Criminal Records Expungement of Convictions for Historical Homosexual Offences Bill be now read a first time. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that this House apologise to those homosexual New Zealanders who were convicted for consensual adult activity and recognise the tremendous hurt and suffering those men and their families have gone through and the continued effects convictions have had on them. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary opinion will say no. The ayes have it.